Welcome, everybody, to the CFL Weekly Pick'em Show on the Grilling Truth Sports Network. The CFL Weekly Pick'em Show is brought to you by BetNow.eu. For a cashback bonus on your first deposit, make sure you use the promo code TRUTH100 at BetNow.eu. I'm your host for the CFL Weekly Pick'em Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host. First up, the immortal, the lovable, you can't live without him, Brian Schmidt. How you doing, Schmitty?
I'm doing good. I've never been introduced like that. I don't know what to do with myself.
I was trying to be nice for once. And, of course, on the other end, we have four-time Grey Cup winner. You know him, you love him, you can't live without him either. Robert Drummond. How you doing, Robert?
I'm doing pretty good.
Well, I didn't want you to feel left out.
So.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and talk about today's impeachment hearings. I'm kidding. We're going to talk a little CFL playoff. We got the conference finals. Conference semifinals just passed. Conference finals up next. And we had a little bit of an upset in the first game as C.J. Gable scored twice and Trevor Harris put on a passing clinic, leading the Edmonton Eskimos to a 37-29 win over the Montreal Alouettes in the Eastern semifinal on Sunday. Now, this doesn't surprise me because I thought at the start of the year with Trevor Harris and C.J. Gable, this might be the best team in the CFL. This surprises me, Robert, because I didn't think that Trevor Harris, I know he started a game a couple weeks ago, and C.J. Gable would play this way after not playing that much. And on the road, I think this was an unbelievable performance by this team.
You know what? The fact that the game was on the road and C.J. Gable had a great game, but just Trevor Harris,
36 for 39.
I mean, lights out. I mean, what an amazing performance by a quarterback under pressure in that situation. In a playoff game, on the road, a hostile environment. It's just. They're the way they played. Wow, the people better watch out. I mean, I wouldn't say they're my prediction right now to win the Grey Cup, but they'd be my prediction right now to win the Grey Cup. But if I use a level head to think about it.
All right, well, this is the show where we try not to do that, Robert. So, Brian, Vernon Adams Jr., 14 for 27, 3 interceptions. Now, Robert made an interesting comment about Edmonton being the road team. Is this something where maybe more pressure on Vernon Adams because he's at home in his first playoff start?
Oh, I definitely think not only being at home, first playoff start, we said last week, how is Montreal going to respond being in a playoff game after a season where nobody really expected them to make the playoffs? And here they are. They were a hot team in the playoffs. But we also said how you can't count Trevor Harris out at playoff time. And boy, did we see that. Trevor Harris had a great game. But, Vernon Adams, obviously got caught, had a bad game. And we've said all season, if Vernon Adams doesn't play well, Montreal tends to lose.
Yeah, and I think we would be remiss if we didn't bring up the fact that Edmonton Eskimos defensive back Josh Johnson was a star on defense. He had all three of those interceptions, including two of them in the final 3 minutes, Robert. I mean, that was a great game by him and Trevor Harris played about as well as you possibly can play in a game of that magnitude.
I mean, what a great defensive game, and it's funny, I got a text from some of my friends still in Canada afterwards, telling me that in 19, I think it was 2000. Wow, that's a long time ago. 2000 that as a team that was below 500, we won the Grey Cup in BC. And we got on a hot streak. We went to Edmonton, beat Edmonton, went to Calgary, beat Calgary, came back to Calgary for the Grey Cup, and beat Montreal. And and they told me that, so watch out, Edmonton, could do the same thing. And I was like, wow. I mean, that's wow. For teams, as you can see, it's about getting hot at the right time. And right now Edmonton, just the way they played, especially Trevor Harris. He's hot right now at the right time, and watch out.
Yeah, and another team that's like that is, I thought at the start of the year maybe Edmonton and Winnipeg were the two best teams, and Winnipeg had kind of dropped
On
off.
paper,
Chris
yeah, I agree.
Streveler, yeah, and Chris Streveler, hadn't played real well lately, but a massive second half led the Winnipeg Bombers to a 35-14 win over the Calgary Stampeders as they advanced to the Western Finals. The Bombers' defense was imperative to this victory, Schmidt. They picked off Bo Levi Mitchell twice and didn't allow a single Stampeder point in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, what a performance. Who saw that coming? Winnipeg not only win, but convincingly. But again, they did it with the defense. Great defense, shut down Calgary. This was a huge upset. I don't think anybody saw this one coming.
Really? I thought I picked Winnipeg last week.
You may have.
Come on! Jeez. I'm nobody now, right?
Somebody.
I'll tell you. Well, and the other thing with Winnipeg is offensively, Zach Collaros and Chris Streveler led that victory. I mean, Collaros tossed a touchdown pass to Darvin Adams. Streveler ran into game-sealing major score late in the fourth quarter. And a lot of times, almost all the time, I think a two-quarterback system is a bad idea. But when you get two quarterbacks that do what they do as well as they do it, it's not too bad to use them. And, I mean, Streveler was used as a running back. He ran the ball 13 times for 82 yards. Andrew Harris, 14 for 57. Zach Collaros was only 11 for 21, 193 yards and a touchdown. But when you throw in Nick Demiski, who also had over 50 yards rushing, I mean, they ran for almost 200 yards. They threw for almost 200 yards. And that's a recipe to win some playoff games, Robert.
I mean, I completely agree. At this point in the season, with weather, with elements, with hostile environments, if you can run the ball, you can set a tone for how your team's going to play, and psychologically beat another team. The fact that Streveler, Andrew Harris, and the crew were able to average, close to 5 yards, a carry amongst all of them, that's a first down every time, 2 times you touch the ball, and that takes so much pressure, off of a quarterback. Zach Collaros, they didn't turn the ball over and manage the game. And I said at the beginning of the year, a quarterback's job on the field once he walks out there to play a game is to manage the game and not lose the game. Just go out there and be an orchestrator. And he did a great job. And if they can go in, into next week's game, and just be manageable and not make mistakes and run the ball like that and be efficient, they're going to be a tough win. I mean, a tough out for anybody. And a very, very shocking game, to go into Calgary and be able to accomplish this because Calgary is battle tested. They're used to being in the playoffs, all the time. They've been there, done that before, and for Edmonton, for Winnipeg to step up and accomplish the things they did this game, says a lot about them. And again, makes for a great game, this week coming up.
Yeah, and as good as Trevor Harris was in that first playoff game, was as bad as Bo Levi Mitchell was in the second game, Brian.
I mean, he really was. And again, that's not something that you would expect, but, teams have games like that. Players, teams, you don't expect it from Calgary, but it happens. But, now we start for the whole off season is this to be, the end of the Calgary run in terms of what they've done year in and year out. So that'll be an interesting question in the off season.
Yeah, and I would say with their front office, it's probably not, but we even saw the Patriots not win the Super Bowl one time, I think. Let's go ahead and look at this weekend's finals coming up. Winnipeg at Saskatchewan at 4:30 on Sunday. And both of these matchups, I think, are great matchups. I think they're both damn near toss-ups. And when you look at Winnipeg and Saskatchewan, you got two teams, and both of these matchups are really similar. You got two really good teams, two really good quarterbacks. What do you think here is the key to winning Winnipeg and Saskatchewan, Brian?
I think it's going to come down to, we talk so much about the offense, but it's really going to come down to the defense because we've seen Saskatchewan play really well defensively all year, been very consistent, and we just saw what Winnipeg did against Calgary. So what defense is going to step up, get turnovers? Obviously, the offense has got to convert the turnovers, but I think the key is really going to be what defense plays well.
Yeah, and to go with that, I think stopping the run here is imperative for both teams. And the stat that really blew my mind is the Blue Bombers this year, Robert, have run the ball 48% of the time on first down.
You know, the fact that Winnipeg was able to go into a hostile environment, you know, under those conditions, you know, and beat a strong, you know, Calgary team, you know, it says a lot about what Winnipeg is capable of, you know, and be able to go into Saskatchewan and do the same thing. I mean, they're flying high right now. Saskatchewan's had a week's rest. You know, they've had a chance to mentally prepare, get their bodies ready, get their players healthy. But Saskatchewan, Winnipeg right now, it seems like they're on a roll. You know, the way they played, you know, it just says. I mean, I think, you know, Andrew Harris is going to have a monster game. You know, as I told you before, you know, as a team, they average over 5 yards a carry. And think about it, every 5 yards a carry is every 2 times you touch the ball. That's a first down. And that's huge psychological advantage for an offense. The team that runs the ball the best during the playoffs, you know, is the team that's going to give you the best chance, the best opportunity to win the Grey Cup.
Yeah, and my worry with the Riders, we just saw with Vernon Adams in his first home playoff game. Cody Fajardo's kind of in the same role here, Brian.
Yeah, he really is. And I think that's something that obviously we've got to take into consideration. I think that maybe a little bit difference would be, I think Cody Fajardo has kind of shown that consistency in terms of they don't necessarily need him to play a great game to win. He can play a good game, but they've done it all year with good defense, things around him, where Montreal has kind of shown they need Adams to play good to great to win, which he's done most of the time. I think that, that's the difference. But still, it's going to come down to defenses and who doesn't turn the ball over.
All right, so I think every playoff game comes down to that. So who wins this game, Brian?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the road team. I'm gonna go with Winnipeg. Just for what they showed in the playoff game, they've got a good quarterback situation. They've got a great run game. They played solid defensively, and I think that they're going to win a tight game. I really think this is going to be a game that's in the low 20s and maybe a 1 or 2 point game. But I think they're going to win a game on the road.
All right. Do you agree or disagree, Robert?
I completely agree. I gotta go with fate. I just think just Winnipeg is just something about just watching that game. And just watching the body language, watching the psychology, mental games they're playing, watching the team that's on the road in a hostile environment go out there and be able to accomplish it. It's just I think Winnipeg just right now just feels that it's their year. As I said before, it's about getting hot at the right time, and right now they're hot.
All right, I agree. We're all three going road team in Winnipeg. So Saskatchewan, y'all ought to be in pretty good shape. I know we got a lot of Rider fans that listen, so we all really like the Riders, and we're trying not to jinx them, so don't get too mad at us. Next up, we have the Eastern Finals. As Edmonton will battle Hamilton. Did I say that wrong? I did. Doesn't matter. Conference Finals. All right, Trevor Harris. I think Trevor Harris is a key here because if Trevor Harris plays like this again, Robert, Edmonton's going to win because he completed 92% of his passes.
Yeah, Trevor Harris is on fire right now. And it's always hard to win a playoff game. On the road, and in Hamilton, it's a good team. Hamilton with a week's rest, and pretty much a week and a half, I should say, to prepare for you. Because when you're like, I've been in many a situation like this in a in an Eastern and a Western final, and you prepare for both teams the first week, but then that second week, you get more, you get more preparation for the team that you're playing against. So, but in saying that, I just think that Hamilton, as good as they are, they have a beehives coming, that they have to deal with right now, because Edmonton is, as I said, they have a week underneath their belt. They have all the confidence in the world. The psychology of going on the road and being a team that's, under 500, making the playoffs and, things of that nature. Everything's going against Hamilton right now, so they're playing relax. Everything's going against Edmonton right now, so they're playing relax. All the pressure is on Hamilton right now because they're the team that everyone's picking to win the game. So it's going to be an interesting game, right? It's going to be a tight game. It's going to be a tough game. And Trevor Harris, like you said, I agree, is the key. Defense wins championships, and Hamilton has a great defense, but Trevor Harris is the key to this game.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, defenses win championships, but Edmonton's defense is not that bad, especially up front. I think these are probably the two best defensive lines in the CFL, Brian, and I think it might be the two best offensive lines also.
Yeah, both lines are phenomenal, play very well, and really, I mean, you guys kind of put the keys to this is A, Trevor Harris playing the way he has, if he continues to do that, and B, we talked about Evans not being a backup quarterback anymore, but we're, again, as we talked with Vernon Adams, new to the playoffs. Here we go. The lights are a lot brighter right now. So can he perform as he has all year?
Yeah, and I think that's a huge question. And I think this game's a toss-up. Robert, what do you think? Hamilton or Edmonton?
Ooh, wow. If I could go with my gut, for me to, this is a tough one. I'm going to go with Edmonton. A road team that's just playing just playing in a hostile environment. With a relaxed team because nothing's really expected of them. Hamilton's the elephant in the room. The monster on the wall. The big dog. It's their home. They built everything up to a crescendo to get to this point. But I think Edmonton's going to be that cog in the side of them that finds a way to win this game. In a close game. I mean, I think a late field goal or a play to take a great drive away from Hamilton at the end. But I think Edmonton finds a way to sneak this off by a 1 or 2 point win.
Brian?
I'm going to agree. Two things about this that I don't like my gut feeling. One is the way Edmonton's playing right now, the way Trevor Harris played, them coming into there and doing it. But two, Hamilton's been such a hot team, and we've seen this in the playoffs many times. That team that's played hot all year gets a week off, and then they play a team like Edmonton that has nothing to lose. Nobody expected them to be where they're at in the first place, and that's always dangerous. And to me, that the red circle is Trevor Harris, because he is always that guy that when he gets hot, he gets white hot. I mean, we saw this 2 or 3 years ago with him. When he gets hot, he gets white hot, and it doesn't die very quickly. He's not one of those guys going to get hot one game and then cold the next. He usually, when he gets hot, he stays hot for 2 or 3 games, and that's dangerous. So I agree. I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, I think this is pretty evenly matched. I think we've got special teams-wise, I do think Hamilton has an advantage, especially if you use Brandon Banks back there and Lirim Hawarahu, who is the kicker. I mean, Shaun White made all 5 kicks in the Eastern semifinals for the Eskimos. I think that could be a big key here. But I'm going to go Edmonton also. So we've got 2 road teams winning, and we'd have Edmonton against Winnipeg, and I think those are the 2 best teams in the CFL right now. But I think both of these games are complete toss-ups. It wouldn't surprise me if it was Hamilton against Saskatchewan, which would be a rematch of the greatest Grey Cup game I think I ever saw in 1989. No offense, Robert. But that was one of the best football games at any level I ever saw. So I think we all agree Edmonton and Winnipeg in the finals. Robert, you got any final words before we let Brian impart some wisdom to us?
I mean, I just completely agree with Brian. You know, it's just I've been a part of. I mean, shockingly, as you said before, I mean, we call this, you know, where the legends speak. You know, I've been a part of 4 teams that won 15 games during the regular season, that were actually absolutely dominant during the regular season. You know, and had that week off. And I can always remember playing that team coming in that next week after they won the game, and how hard those games were, because we thought these teams were like, oh my God, it's like, you know, it's like they pushed us to the brink of being eliminated, you know, from the playoffs and going to the Grey Cup because of how hard they play, you know, and I look at the, you know, the Edmontons, you know, and I look at the Winnipegs, and I'm saying, like, you know, they had that same mindset of beating these teams, you know. But I've also been in that other end of the spectrum also. You know, when I was in BC with Damon Allen, you know, Alfred Jackson, you know, Jimmy Jet Cunningham, Sean Millington, you know, and being on a team that was 8-8, you know, or going into a playoffs and being the underdog and beating a tough Edmonton team on the road, beating a tough Calgary team on the road, getting to the Grey Cup in Calgary again, and beating a tough Montreal team. So I understand what it's like to be the underdog, and I understand what it's like to be the top dog, you know, and being the underdog gives you way more of an advantage because there's so much pressure on you when you're the team to beat. And as I said before, Hamilton's the team to beat. And be careful, because this is going to be an interesting playoff, because there's so many psychological games that are being played right now that a lot of the fans on the station, a lot of the fans across the country, a lot of the fans watching the game don't understand. You know what? Edmonton has nothing to lose. Winnipeg has nothing to lose. So they're going to go out there, be relaxed, and just play football. Like, take a look at how they played this week, and it's a testament to how they're going to play the rest of this playoffs.
Yeah, and I think my big takeaway from picking the 2 road teams is a lot of what you just said. They're coming in with momentum. The other 2 teams, you've got quarterbacks that have never been in this situation. And with all things being equal, I'm going to go with the team with the experience that's got a game under their belt when it comes down to this. And usually when you have a game at this level, it seems like at least every year there's at least one team that seems like maybe they shouldn't be there, and they'll come out and they'll play good for a little while, and then, you know, they'll kind of fall off and lose the game. But in this case, I think Edmonton and Winnipeg are every bit as good as Hamilton and Saskatchewan, and I just think the road teams are going to win these games because of this. They've got momentum coming, Brian.
Yeah, that's the real key is they're playing hot. They've got momentum. I've always liked in these situations, you got to go with those teams a lot of times, because it's just, you know, that factor of how hot they're playing, but also the other team has sat a week. And too many times we've seen it, NFL playoff, CFL playoff, we've seen it. The team that sits, they lose that momentum, and when they're playing a team that's playing hot, that usually does not bode well. So I agree completely with you guys.
All right, guys. Are you guys good to do a CFL Grey Cup preview show Monday night at like 9 or 9:30?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Okay, because I got to coach a high school football game in Panama City on Thursday, and we leave like Tuesday. So we will be back next Monday night. Let's just call it 9:30, guys.
That's fine with me. I mean, I'm good.
That'll work.
All right, 9:30.
That should be good with me.
Go ahead.
I'll be on the West Coast, so it'll be 6:30 my time. So.
All right, let's not confuse you too much. So now we'll just say 6:30 Pacific time we'll be on. But yeah, 9:30 Eastern time, CFL Grey Cup preview show, where probably we'll be talking about Hamilton and Saskatchewan, and nobody will hear anything they're saying because everybody's going to be saying, well, they picked the wrong teams last week. Why are we listening to them now? But we'll see how it works out. I want to remind everybody you can hear our NFL Pick'em show tonight with me, Brian, and, of course, the immortal Scott Wilson. Yeah. I figured Schmidt would make a snide comment there.
I have so many comments and so little time, so.
All right, but you can listen to us at 10 tonight, where we'll browbeat Scott, who's a junior high football coach in the Cincinnati area, and he always brings some, shall we say, color to the show. And not good color, it's bad color. He just doesn't know what he's talking about. But it's always fun. And me and Brian, yeah. Well, Brian, it's the one guy, Robert to Brian, is actually beating on the NFL Pick'em show so far.
Hey, remember, I've gone from 20 games back to 8, so.
No, you haven't. You went from 10 back to 9 back. We don't know what the records were this week. You were 20 games back, Brian. I was just screwing with you the one time when I told you you were 20 back. I think the farthest back you were was 12. You've only won 1 week, so it's not like you made a big run.
I felt like I was 20 games back.
Well, it felt like it to me, too. It was because you started off like 9-22. But luckily for you, nobody else was much above 500. So, all right, guys, remember you can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you can find podcasts. You'll find The Grueling Truth. So, for Brian Schmidt, Robert Drummond, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.